At this point, I think it's fair to say that Assassin's Creed Origins is a well-loved game. It's a game applauded for its new additions to a long since stale format. Additions such as the new leveling and gear systems, among other things. The game is also highly praised for its historical setting. Ancient Egypt is of course not a new time period for movies or games, but the amount of detail put into this version is downright incredible. This video, however, is not on the historical accuracy or realism of AC Origins. Overly sarcastic productions already did an excellent video on the subject, which I've linked below. No, today we're gonna talk about Assassin's Creed Origins as a game. Specifically, we're gonna talk about the new leveling system and the highly praised story-heavy side quests. We're gonna talk about how these things, among others, contributed to making me lose interest in the game. And I would like to start out with a full disclosure here. I didn't finish Assassin's Creed Origins, and I know this is gonna turn a lot of people off from anything I might have to say. Arguments like, well, you didn't play the game to the end, so it's unfair to judge anything about it, those are bound to come up in the comments below this video. And to that argument, I put to you that exploring the reasons for why a game failed to keep your attention is just as important as the opposite situation. If you want to critique a piece of media, I think it's important to look at the biggest flaws, especially if those flaws stop you from seeing that piece of media to the end. What could be more important and constructive than pointing out why a game failed to grab you and how you think future games could improve on this? This is exactly why I made this video, not to preach to the choir, but to give informed feedback about a product which I didn't totally enjoy. Now, as mentioned before, Origins introduces a few new elements to the Assassin's Creed formula. One of these is the new leveling system. The introduction of a standard leveling functionality makes it so you can't just kill anyone with one stab from your hidden blade like other entries in the series. Now any enemies above your level are gonna be hard or even impossible to actually fight. While a bit immersion breaking, this can be accepted for gameplay reasons, since it gives a nice difficulty curve throughout your playthrough, as opposed to other games in the series where you're set for life once you get a hidden blade and a few handy gadgets. The new combat system, which AC Origins also introduces, integrates very well with this new leveling system, and it really feels rewarding to slowly progress through the skill trees to unlock new abilities. This leveling system is fine in and of itself. The progression in this title is definitely more entertaining and rewarding than anything this series has seen before. Where this leveling system becomes a problem is in its relation to the open world. Because Assassin's Creed now has a level attached to each enemy, different zones of the map are cordoned off and dedicated to a specific level range. Of course, you can technically visit all areas at level 1, but don't expect to survive long if you do. This sort of level zoning feels very MMO-esque. Stray too far outside your specific level's dedicated area and you will get beaten to a pulp within minutes. Now, there isn't necessarily anything wrong with the system itself. The problem is with the level range picked for each area of the map. It seems to be nearly completely arbitrary which zones are high and low level. Well, not completely arbitrary. If you follow the main story, you'll be taken roughly to the areas corresponding to your current level. This seems fine on the surface, but in practice, this kills off any sense of exploration outside the weird boundaries of the story. Do you want to go visit the pyramid and hunt bandits? Well, tough luck, son. That area is too high level for you. Better stick to Alexandria for now, or at least the next 10 levels. Besides this frustration, the system is also just straight up immersion breaking, due to the lack of connection between zone levels and zone content. You end up in a situation where a random bandit camp in the middle of the desert are guarded by tougher enemies than the freaking royal palace. If the levels had roughly corresponded to the expected security budgets of estates, palaces and camps, this wouldn't have been a problem. As it stands, the world ends up feeling fake and unbelievable, which is frustrating since so much work has clearly gone into making the world visually realistic. In the end, the leveling zone disconnects the player from the beautiful and immersive world of ancient Egypt and instead reminds him that he's just playing a video game where common bandits have to be tougher than royal guards for gameplay reasons.
I would call you a webbing fool, but I'm no liar.
Now let's just assume that you can get over all of this, and I mean most people have, so it's not that far-fetched. You now have to continue with doing side quests for XP to access the new zones. I mean you can do other things, but that's pretty much the most effective way of doing it. This sounds easy in principle. Unfortunately, this is where the second problem, which I alluded to in the intro, becomes relevant. It is clear to anyone that has ever played an Assassin's Creed game before that in AC Origins an unusual amount of effort has been put into giving all side quests a coherent story with voice acting and a plot. quests in AC Origins are much closer to The Witcher than a traditional Assassin's Creed game. Effort has been put into expanding quests beyond the regular type of fetch, escort or combat quests seen in previous titles. You wouldn't really expect anything else. A huge portion of the playtime is now dedicated to these side activities since you need to grind for XP. It's only natural then that development focus would shift to the side stuff. Some of these quests are great and tie into the overall story of certain locations, towns and communities. This system ties several smaller side quests together into a bigger story of local change, which also helps you to learn about the local area and the daily activities which the inhabitants get up to. This is both great for world building and personal player satisfaction. The setup really makes you feel like you are accomplishing something, which is a first for side quests in this series. Now we've established that the quests themselves aren't the problem, so why did I allude to these being a problem in the intro? Where the game lets itself down is in its main character. Bayek of Siwa, the Magi of Egypt, is no Ezio. Bayek is a very flat character for the majority of the game. All we really know about him is the following. Bayek wants to avenge his son, and he wants to protect the innocent. Other than that, Bayek really has no personality traits to speak of. He's very plain and a safe protagonist in many ways. He's the stereotypical I want to help everybody and do good character. Now this might sound fine on paper as a hero, but in practice you end up with a character who's just not interesting. This creates a weird situation when the writing of many side quests is of higher quality. You'll have characters spilling their hearts out talking about their struggles and fight against oppression to a character who might as well be a plank of wood. Bayek really is the character equivalent of choosing only vanilla ice cream. Sure, it tastes good in the beginning, but after a while you're gonna get bored of it. As a result, the juxtaposition between the writing of Bayek and the writing of the quest characters is completely jarring. Bayek ends up feeling more like a tool than an actual character. It ends up feeling like all problems in ancient Egypt can be solved by running the bayekthehero.exe file. Your character is supposed to be a hero, the savior and protector of Egypt, but you don't feel like that. You feel like a plumber who's just there to fix the problem and then move on to the next one. Which really is a shame because there was so much potential here, both in the world and in the character of Bayek himself. I mean, everybody loves a good revenge story, but once he turns into this type of generic character, people will get bored. So to sum up my main points, we have a weird leveling and zoning system which kills immersion and a main character who sucks the life out of any interesting writing in the side activities. The easiest to fix seems to be the writing of the main character. Just give him a few more character traits. Explore these traits and his personality a lot more earlier on. Also maybe make him question what he's doing when he agrees to risk his life for a random beggar on the street. An option to turn down quests wouldn't hurt either, because most of the time it just seems preposterous what they're asking you to do. As for the zoning, it's a bit more difficult. The obvious solution is just to make the guards scale relatively to your own level, kinda like Skyrim. Make guards in special areas tough as nails and random bandits weak and untrained. This would give the player a goal to work towards, or at least encourage stealth a lot more. The solution would be a lot more work than just arbitrarily putting a level on a certain zone, but it would make the world seem more real and truly improve the sense of immersion. Before anyone pounces in the comment section, I know they've added a scaling level option, but it only affects enemies below your own level, so the whole problem with guards in the Royal Palace being weak, while bandits in the random desert being high level, that problem is still there. To end the video, I would actually like to give Assassin's Creed Origins my personal recommendation. As I've been writing this script, I've gone back and played the game for inspiration and for footage. I can now more truly appreciate why so many people like the game so much. Besides its enormous potential as a learning tool and as a virtual sightseeing of ancient Egypt, AC Origins is also just a fun game to play when you just want to sit down and relax. Despite the flaws which ruin my own experience, Origins is still a good game. A game which many people enjoy and still plays to this day. I think if you don't expect the world when you sit down and play it, but expect to have an overall positive experience, I think you will be prepared for what you're gonna play. I have nothing but respect for the people behind the game and for what they were trying to do with it. They clearly worked very hard on this gigantic piece of media. In the end, Origins is a good game with flaws. Not a masterpiece, but certainly not a waste of time either. To end the video, I'd like to thank everybody who's here for listening. I know the video dragged on for a bit, but I hope to at least have encouraged some type of discussion. If you agreed or disagreed with anything I said, feel free to drop me a comment below. I'll pretty much always answer, and I hope we can have some thoughtful discussion about the subject. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!